so awesome to see so many people here. I'm Ben Brown from Warner Brothers Television Publicity, and welcome to our panel session for Arrow. Thank you all so much for being fans of the show. It's you fans who allowed Arrow to quickly take television by storm this fall. It was the highest rated series premiere on the CW since The Vampire Diaries in 2009. So that's pretty cool. This show has phenomenal action. It has inspired guest casting that's made so many fans' dreams come true. I mean, they've had John Barrowman, Colton Haynes, Lonnie Bennett, and Alex Kingston. And that is just touching the surface. So, on top of the guest casting and the amazing action that this show has, it also has compelling storytelling week in and week out. And it's those three things combined that has allowed Arrow to find a way into your hearts and living rooms. Now, as a thank you for your support, we have a special video presentation to share with you today. It's going to give you a special sneak peek into what's still to come this season on the show. Now, after the screening, Damian Holbrook, senior writer at TV Guide magazine, will lead the cast in a Q&A. We have Stephen Amell here today, Willa Holland, Colin Donald, and Paul Blackthorne. Also joining the cast will be executive producer Mark Guggenheim. We were expecting Andrew Kreisberg, but he's not feeling well today, so everybody send your well wishes out to Andrew. Now, just a couple quick things before we get started. First of all, let's have some fun. Tweet it out, post to Facebook, Instagram from today's panel. Let's share it with everyone who couldn't be here. Also, be sure to check out a new episode of Arrow this Wednesday, April 3rd at 8/7 Central on CW. All right, now that I've completely bored you, let's go ahead and play the reel.
Thank you. If you are in this room today, that means two things. One, you are awesome. And B, you are totally into awesome TV. Arrow has been kicking ass since our first Arrow flew through the sky last fall, and I'm going to bring out some of the cast and executive producer to talk about what is coming up, because I can tell you some craziness is on its way. So let us first bring out our cast. We have Detective Lance, Paul Blackthorne. They'll be doing a signing at the DC Comics booth, so make sure you hit that line. After looking at that sizzle reel and seeing what's coming up, Steven, the first question I have to ask you is, are you getting any rest?
No. That's okay. That's what we signed up for. We signed up to do this for a long time, to work hard. You can't start making the shows smaller. You gotta go bigger.
To the rest of the cast, do you guys just like show up on set with like your iPads and your coffee? And, like,
that's exactly.
He's running at walls and pulling stones with chains. And you're like, moms.
It's literally how I show up to work with my iPad in hand and my tea latte. And not tired from kicking ass the whole day before.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly. Hopefully soon. Hopefully very soon.
So I had one question for Mark. I know it's a big deal. Everyone loves dubs. This man is a millionaire. Can he not afford some Under Armour?
We're not getting paid product placement money for Under Armour.
Colin, we're starting to get a little worried about Tommy. He's not having a good thing in the world. life is not treating him well. He seems like he's just one more betrayal or bad day away from going dark. What can you tell us about this guy?
Well, you know, a lot of stuff has been happening in Tommy's world lately. And things are not looking good for his relationship with Oliver. And things might not be looking good for other relationships that he has in the show. But one relationship might look good for him with Zad. Maybe?
Not the best dad, but okay.
Yikes.
And watch Wednesday's episode.
Yeah. Wednesday's episode's gonna tell a lot.
Now, Colin, we talked about this backstage with Thea, or Willa. There was that episode early on where there was a distinct vibe between Big Brother type Tommy and Thea that seemed to have a little bit more heat than regular relationships like that. Do you think, if things crap out with Laurel, would he trade up for like a younger model?
I think it's
Am I new and improved?
What's that?
Am I new and improved?
Yes, you are.
Alright.
I think Thea's got her hands full with somebody else right now.
I know, right? If he can actually be Roy, then fine, maybe, but I doubt it.
Now, Willa, that one brings me to this one. Like, you've gotten a lot of great story lately. You know, finally, Thea's out of the house, she's out of the mansion. She's not so much the druggy, bratty club girl. How's that for you, working in a wider world now?
It's been amazing, actually. Finally, Thea's on a virtuous path. And it's just been a very smooth ride past couple episodes for Thea and for Roy and I, actually. Colton and I had a lot of fun exploring where our characters are going to go. Not like that. Come on, guys.
Have you been told by the producers or the writers that you should get used to or get prepared for getting involved in more of the action stuff?
I have been telling the writers, and I will always tell Marcus as well, that I am willing, ready, and so freaking pumped to pick up a bow and arrow, man. I can kick some ass.
We have a moment for you in the season finale that you're gonna really like.
Oh God, yes.
And Colin, you had some big stuff going on with the dad, and some great action stuff that you were witness to. Are we going to see you kind of pulling something out? Never mind.
Jamie, apparently some of our audience may be under the age of 18, so we're gonna
Guys, that's it right.
You know, there's, never say never.
I think they had like a mute button for all the microphones, like a kill switch.
It's, you know, there's, anything's possible. They've done a really great job of keeping us in the dark about what's to come, so, you know?
Everyone at this table is, unfortunately, they haven't read the season finale yet, so they don't know what's coming. Which is how you, what? I'll tell you a couple things. I will say, Tommy's got a cool moment with a gun in the season finale.
Nice.
All right. So
And I will tell you that right before this panel, Don Barrowman, he just tweeted that the Arrow writers just finished reading F122, #effing_wicked. And that's not even the finale.
Yeah, we said, you know, we tried to write episode 22 like it would be a season finale, and I think if you watch 22, when you watch 22, you'll see like, oh, that worked as a season finale, and for any other show. And then 23 is our season finale.
Now, Paul, as one of the only surviving members of the Starling City Police Detective, you got Ross McKenna. You know, they drop like flies, mostly because of this guy in the middle.
Some of them go off and do continuum.
Has Detective Lance started to figure out that there's got to be some kind of connection between Ollie and this mounting body count?
There's no development, is it really? So the results But, you know, I went in there hell for leather with my theories early in the season and everybody just, you know, boo-booed me. And, you know, I'm still holding on tight to some of those theories, but I can't really go too far with that. I don't go far from that than I did, so you can do.
So all this stuff you realize, all this stuff started happening when he came back to town.
Yes, I know, it's a strange correlation, isn't it? I've never really worked that one out.
And did you know going into this show that this character was actually going to be so emotionally level? I mean, this guy's got a lot going on.
I think it's level, it's not emotionally level.
No,
but level, yes. No, that was one of the things that appealed to me about the character. You know, there's some history there, there's something to play with, and, you know, particularly dark, tragic, awful, really. But, no, that was actually appealing to me for some strange reason. But, yeah, love it.
All right, Mark, you mentioned something backstage about you guys have a board. You have a couple boards.
Yes.
In the production.
Our boards have boards.
Yes. Not just to keep track of storyline, but also relationships. And can you tell us about some of these boards?
Yeah, we've got basically a season 1 board that tracks. It's like a grid, and it tracks all of the bad guys, the major relationship moments, the major mythology moments. Then we have another board that is pure, like, relationships, character dynamics, all different ways the characters relate to each other. We have a board that is titled Things We Want to See, which is just all these fun moments, a lot of which you've already seen, you know, in season 1, still a bunch that we're holding in our back pocket for seasons 2 and beyond. And we have a board that basically charts out the mythology, you know, as far as like what the undertaking is. All those answers, by the way, are coming in the final 3 episodes of the season.
And Ben had pointed out in the intro that you've done this incredible job of casting these guest characters, all huge genre people. When you go into looking at the characters, you guys think like, all right, we've got this great pool of actors from shows that really kind of speaks to the DNA of the show?
No, honestly, like, I will say, first of all, big shout out to David Rappaport, our database casting director. He's the one who brought us Colton, Manu, John Barrowman, Alex Kingston. By the way, I feel like if I ever just want to get an applause, John Barrowman. Howard, so awesome.
That's how I know to interrupt you, Barrowman.
We always start with, you know, just the character. We write the character, we write what their arc is, and then we start casting. And the rule for us is really, really simple. Best actor wins. You know, it just so happens we've had a bunch of characters who, a bunch of actors who have genre credit, street credit, if you will. But for us, it's all about just getting the best actors, and I think it's true that there are a lot of genre shows that have the same philosophy. And we just are always very lucky to have these incredibly talented people come play with us.
Well, I think your best actor wins concept really paid off in just the initial casting of your cast, your regulars. And I don't think enough praise can be put on the very wide, developed shoulders of Mr. Amell. Who is clearly up for anything you guys throw at him. What has it been like?
Oh, I got a choice.
How has it been working with this guy that has proven to be able to do all this crazy stuff that you guys would just write up? I mean, this week's episode opened with him hanging from a bar delivering dialogue.
Honest to God, you know, the truth is, you think it would start all with us, but the truth is it started with Steven. I mean, it started way back when we were prepping the pilot. David Duggar sent us these videos of all the work that Steven was doing to get into shape, and, you know, I guess to get conditioned is the technical term, he's already in shape. And we were like, oh my God, you can do these things? And a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, so once we knew something, that, you know, knew that Steven could pull this stuff off, like the Santa Club, which is that thing with the bar that he does. You know, that really just came from him, you know, training. We're like, well, we would be crazy not to put that in the show. And then it's been this fun exercise of, you know, seeing what else we can have Steven.
The new reality show will make Steven new.
I've been pitched a lot the Stephen Amell Oliver Queen fitness tape. Season 6.
Steven, it's been almost a year now you've been doing this stuff.
A little over a year.
Are the aches and pains starting to catch up?
I'm more sore of golf yesterday. I swing way too hard. No, it's certainly been a process of learning how to fight on screen because your adrenaline just pumps so hard and you want to go faster than you should. So it's sort of an art of slowing down and thinking about what you're doing, and specifically our fight choreographer, James Bamford. He's always been an exactly our fight coordinator's name is Ben. It's really good and almost like an acting exercise. Always wants me to be doing something physical but have a purpose behind it. Otherwise, it's just, if there's no emotional connection to the action, then what does it matter? Then it's just ballet. So, I'm a little sore. I'm excited for how, we have 3 more weeks. I'm excited for hiatus. I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Great.
But before we get to that hiatus, you've got a lot of stuff still to film. And Mark, we were talking about the island story, which is so intense. Even when it's just a quiet moment of them talking or something, there's just this. It seems like it's so much effort for these guys. And you told so much of the backstory already in a storyline that's really 5% of every episode. How much island story do you have mapped out?
We've always had a 5-year plan for the island. We've always said that at the end of season 5, the last flashback would be the first moment of the pilot, which is Oliver setting the bonfire on fire so that he can signal the boat. We've planned out, what I would call sort of big tentpole moments, jaw-dropping moments for those first 5 years. The fun thing about the show is we always go in with a very sort of specific plan, but we even surprise ourselves at how fast we burn through story. For example, we knew that we were going to introduce Shadow on the island, who's played by Steele James, absolutely phenomenal. And if you go and you watch the pilot, for example, you'll see that tattoo of his that's on the back left shoulder that played in episode 14. That ties into the Shadow's tattoo. We always knew we were going to bring her on the show. We never expected to do it so soon in season 1. So we have a plan, but who knows how fast we'll burn through the story. But that's always a quality problem for us.
There's some things that I asked people on Twitter questions for the panel, and one of them was, Steven, at Nadja Andres asks how many stunts and workout scenes do you actually do yourself?
As much as I can, as much as they'll let me, and more than Greg Berlanti knows.
Okay.
It's for example, in episode 18, we had a huge parkour sequence where I'm running through Starling City and yelling at Felicity, and I got to do almost all of that. There were a few things that they wouldn't let me do, but I do as much as I possibly can.
What about motorcycle stuff?
No comment.
Sounds like someone's taking some bike riding lessons. Alright, so Felicity called out Ollie on his hypocrisy this week. To kind of put it to him, he's killing a lot of people. It's like a lot. Do you worry about him going from like vigilante to serial killer?
No. I trust that you wouldn't do that to me, Mark.
We have to see how Hannibal does.
We're coming to a point where Oliver is so hell-bent on the list that that he found on his father's body and the instructions that his father gave him before he died, and that is creating a lot of collateral damage. But the list isn't going to be around forever, and I think one of the things that we're driving towards is Oliver doing what he does, maybe for a more virtuous reason than just revenge.
And speaking of Felicity, who does not love Felicity, right? me, or was there serious heat between her and Dave? That fight sequence, that training sequence, that was kind of hot.
That's what we do in the Arrow Cave. We have, you know, sexual tension-filled training sessions. I mean, some serious heat between me and Diggle earlier.
Yes,
Thought I found that.
Sorry, I'm gonna be.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Do you see something, you know, Felicity is clearly this character that you want to hold on to and kind of see her do something. Do you see her falling somewhere in the romantic realm?
You know, look, I think we always try to write Felicity as she has a crush on Oliver. She had a crush on Oliver even before she found out that he was the Arrow. The question is that going to be reciprocated anytime soon? The answer is Oliver's going to have a little bit more on his hands with the love triangle that exists between him and Tommy and Laurel before, you know, Felicity's going to have to sort of take a number for the time being. That said, we've got some, I think, really fun moments between Oliver and Felicity coming up towards the end of the season. We're going to get her out of there in an episode that I think will help be another greatest hits moment for Felicity.
Nice. Okay, so going back to kind of what Paul was talking about with the, you know, the relationship that he's got with Laurel, and you've got these two families, and Tommy's kind of like the surrogate child to the Queens. And so far this season, these families are all completely fractured. And I'm getting the feeling as we head towards the end of the season that these families are really going to end up just not posing for their Christmas cards together.
I think Felicity's got a line in episode 22. It's something along the lines of like, God, Thanksgiving's going to really suck at their house this year.
You guys really, but you really keep the focus on the family relationship. And as Steven said, like there has to be an emotional connection to the action. A lot of times it involves saving somebody that he loves or avoiding somebody that he fears. How much effort or focus do you guys put into we have to keep this rooted in the family bond?
An enormous amount. I mean, that's really I think the success of the show. Steven's absolutely right. If we don't ground our action and our plot in character and in drama, then it'll kind of all fall flat, and it would just be a very two-dimensional show. The show was always sort of designed from jump to be sort of a Shakespearean drama with, you know, different families, different generations, and that's all the stuff that comes to a head towards the end of the year. You know, obviously there's all this stuff between Oliver and his dad. You know, Robert Queen, even though he died in the pilot, looms very, very large. I think casts a very large shadow in the final 3 episodes of the season. You've got Tommy's relationship with his dad, the fracture point that creates with him and Oliver. All these things are grist for the milk, not only for the show, but specifically for the last 3 to 4 episodes of the season.
And Thea would find out in the same way that Tommy found out. It's such a dramatic betrayal.
Yes.
And how do you think, Willa, how do you think Thea would react when she finds out that her brother is this man?
I've actually been getting asked that question a lot today, especially, and I think it especially depends on where Thea's at that point. I mean, where she is in her relationship with Roy, with her mother. I think there's a lot of things to be at play at that moment, but I think that would add a whole new level to her layer of resentment against Oliver. I mean, really, I think she would just be absolutely bummed that he didn't tell her. They didn't talk about it.
I think that's right. I think, you know, for us, the big evolution of Thea's character was in the first 9 episodes, Thea was all about Oliver. And Thea would just exist as a spoil for Oliver. And I think as a result, she was kind of, I think, more two-dimensional than we ever wanted that character to be. And that was really our fault. So that's why in the latter half of the season, we made this big effort to get her into CNRI, have her interacting with Laurel, have her interacting with Roy, so that she's her own character and not just existing to sort of service Oliver's character. And I think for us, you know, I don't want to say when Thea will find out, but when she finds out, it should take place in a moment of either incredible crisis or incredible joy in her life. It should be something that complicates her life, as opposed to just finding out information passively.
And Colin, when we were talking about the family stuff, I was sitting here thinking like, all right, Lance bugged his own dog. What's wrong with it? Modern day parenting, whatever.
That's right.
Oliver's dad, you know, was kind of crooked and, you know, kind of screwed everything up for everyone. And Tommy's dad is, of course, a supervillain, but is probably the best father you have on the show. What are you saying about family here?
It's because you're John Barrowman.
Yeah, I mean, it occurred to me that all my therapy should be tax deductible.
Yeah.
It's you know, he's trying to be this good father. It's and now he's making it. I mean, when he cut Tommy off, it's not. It was taken in a bad way, but it was with the best intentions. And of course, we see like throughout the season, it really transformed Tommy into coming into being a man, being a standalone person that could actually rely on himself. Yeah, it's interesting that the evilest one of the bunch is actually the best dad.
Yeah. And Tommy and Ollie are in a bad place as well.
No, they're not.
Totally not wearing. They're totally not wearing their BFF lockets right now. But do you guys off camera like do bro things?
Off camera?
Yeah.
You can't. There are people under 18 years of age.
Oh my God.
We literally can't talk about what we do.
Thank God Vancouver has different balls.
So shut down that question, Dave.
Talking about off-camera stuff, who has taken the worst injury during shooting?
Please don't say Steele. Please don't say Steele.
It wasn't me, that's for sure. Oh, you broke somebody's nose.
Yeah. Episode.
Oh, I saw you do that. You broke that guy's nose.
I remember him
First time
telling me
I
about
had
it.
one sequence with you, and I said, there you go.
In the episode 5, where I have the ankle monitor on, and I get Diggle to dress up as the Hood and sort of misdirects Detective Lance, etc., I have a fight in my bedroom. We needed to get one last shot, and I needed to brush my hand along someone's face. In fairness to me,
I witnessed this.
His face was in the way.
In fairness to me, guy had a big freaking nose. And he would be the first one to admit it. And I cooked him like that, and all of a sudden, just blood.
I love how he's laughing about this too. It's like
we needed to shoot one last part where it was on his back, and it's me about to get shot, and then Detective Lance saving the day. And again, it's over his shoulder, and he had like Kleenex stuffed
Stuffed up his nose.
Eyes were watering, but then I realized shortly thereafter, because I felt really bad, and this was 5 episodes into the show, and James Benford, our fight choreographer, just said, look, until you punch the stunt guy in the face, I mean, you're not really one of us. You know? It was an accident. I bought him a 6-pack of beer, and life went on.
With a disc-shaped nose.
Mark, of the 4 people on the panel right now, which one of them would you say does the best serious voice?
Does the best serious voice?
The serious voice.
Willa.
I do have a devilish stare.
You know, it's funny, I
You learned that on the OC, didn't you? Alright, who takes more time in hair and makeup? Steven, Willa, Katie, or Barrowman?
Barrowman, just because I want to get an applause.
Which granted.
You take the least time?
Yeah.
Just a couple crimps and
Yeah,
you're
just
good to
a
go?
I usually sleep in my makeup. Come to work with it the next day, just touched up.
And Paul, you had a very emotional scene this week. How long did it take you to work up the tears? You were all right.
We were all pulling our eyes, actually, that's right.
It's like Oprah in there.
No, that was a heavy day. That was one of those heavy days. You go to work, and as it's happening, you don't actually don't think about it until afterwards. You're sort of like, okay, this is the scene. Oh, that's going to be a number. Think about a few thoughts, and then by the end of it, you're like, God, that was amazing. You know, it's like you suddenly realise afterwards, and watching Alex Kingston work that way. Oh, there's another one. There's another barrel moment. There it is. Alex Kingston. Yeah, she was amazing to watch that day, and just working with her was a real treat. So yeah, some more fun and joy in the Lance family living room. We love it.
To the panel, you guys have seen the Arrow digital comic, right? You guys, have you seen this, the Arrow digital comic, right? How do you guys feel about your cartoon versions of yourselves? How do you feel about the illustrations?
I love mine.
I like getting information. There's a scene in episode 21 where you know, Bloodhaven is involved, and there's kind of like I have a mystery friend there, and I texted Mark. I'm like, who is this person? Because we don't reference it in the show, and he said check the digital comic. So it's good. I mean, we're filling in storyline. There hasn't been the cool thing, and we especially see it. And I was so happy when this happened in episode 22. And I obviously can't talk about what it is, but there are no loose ends in this season. Everything that happens, you know, eventually comes back home, and even the little things. And I'm excited to finish up.
And at first you're like, my God, that's fantastic. And then you go, well, why is there a paunch on this guy? Paunch. And this guy's supposed to be 50. I'm a few years shy of 50. And what I couldn't understand is I have these natural white grey hairs there. They're there. But in the comic book, the grey was gone and the brown looked browned up, like those horrible hair and sort of dye things. And it was a bit paunch. And I was like, no, come on, if you're going to sell the 50 thing, at least keep the white hairs, just lose the paunch, please, it's horrible.
I'm taking these notes very seriously.
Right?
Yes.
Grey hairs, right?
We'll negotiate.
Yeah, that's not working out. But no, it is kind of cool when you see a comic book interpretation.
I was looking at first set of colors from this issue, this chapter with fires, and you know, Sebastian Dunn, who plays Fires, he has sort of, you know, dirty blonde hair, but it really reads more brunette on the camera. And I got the comic book pages, and he was like blonder than young Oliver. And I was like, yeah, we gotta fix that. So we did. So we'll fix the gray and the bunch. Maybe.
Use the bunch, keep the grey. There you go. That's what it is. And the hairline.
Believe me, I would love to take away another man's hair. I appreciate and value it too much.
Good.
At Bell Review wants to know, will the Arrow comic continue being released during the summer break?
Yes. Ben, raise your hand, Ben. I see you in the audience. Help me out.
Oh, there he is.
Ben Sokolowski, he's our writer from the show, but also the person who honestly helps us produce the digital comic week in and week out. And it will be published for several weeks after the finale, and then I'm not sure if we'll go on a little mini hiatus or not. I think that's up to DC Comics. Well, you know, we've made no secret of the fact that we're drawing a lot of inspiration from Longbow Hunters in terms of tone, and there's something actually specifically from Longbow Hunters that I want to do, like in season 4 or season 5. Be a little too soon to do it here. Let people speculate. And then, of course, Green Arrow Year 1, which all takes place on the island. We're taking a lot of inspiration from that. But the truth is, everything's Christopher the Middle. And we're always looking, not just for the Green Arrow comics, but all the DC Universe comics for inspiration, for story ideas. We'll steal from anywhere. When you say plus flashbacks. You'll take stories anywhere you can find them.
All right, we're going to start taking some questions. So line yourselves up. But before that, I just want to ask, you have some scoop that you can give us, correct?
Yes. I'll give you a scoop and a half because I'm not sure how much this was spoiled by the little trailer we showed you. But here's your scoop. Episode 21 is the first time we flash back to a point that wasn't on the island. We'll be flashing back to the days leading up to the ill-fated boat trip, the ill-fated launch of the Queen's Gambit. And in those flashbacks, we will get to see Walter Steele. So Colin Salmon will come back to reprise his role as Walter, albeit in the past.
Alright. So that means a lot more Steven in the wig.
What?
Steven in the wig.
Clean shaven.
Clean shaven? Clean shaven Steven. Which is, that was uncanny seeing that. That was weird. It's not what I'm used to.
Yeah. Alright, we've got somebody dressed as a rabbit. Oh, the same Marshmallow Man!
You lost a lot of weight.
So what do you have? Danny Craig. Anyways, rhetorical question. Paul, you're British? Okay.
Yes.
Again, thank you guys for bringing on Doctor Who actors to the show. My question is, I'm a big fan of the Green Arrow comic. Who will we see? They can give us spoilers of villains' wives coming in the future.
Deadshot comes back in a very big way. A lot of loose ends and unfinished business with him. Oh, and Argus. Not a villain, but a big DC Comics presence, obviously.
This question is for Steven. Before the show, were you into comics, and who was your favorite character?
Before the show, not really. I read Superman during the early 90s, during the whole Death of Superman run. I read Lobo and Spawn. But I know I was a big wrestling fan. I was big into WWF. Yeah, mostly wrestling. But since then, I've been to the DC headquarters in LA a couple of times, and Jeff Johns showed me around. And it's impossible not to become a comic book fan when we did San Diego Comic Con and New York Comic Con, and coming here now and meeting everybody. It's get back into it.
Hey guys, big fan. This is for Steven. Being a fellow archer myself, what did they have you do when you were training to learn archery?
The first thing that happened was Patricia Gonsalves, who's my archery coach, and whenever there is a bow and arrow on set, she's there nagging me, telling me to lift my elbow and turn out my left forearm, and just shut up, Patricia. She showed me a big video of all the ways that archery had been done incorrectly on film and television. She warned me that I would come under the wrath of archery enthusiasts if I didn't do it correctly, and especially if when I fired the bow I flipped my hand back like that. It's a no-no. But we were out at the studios where we shoot in a freezing room, just firing until I was, until I'd get too tired, because you use muscles that you don't really think about. And once you are trying to, do this thing where you have to tense up and also be relaxed. She taught me as best she could. She stays around. I don't get to fire an arrow in the show as much as I'd like. We have you saw in the sizzle reel, I'm going to start firing an arrow on the island, and I actually did get to shoot an arrow when we were doing that, and I messed up one of the takes because I hit the bullseye. Great to start again.
I'm so glad that sentence ended with bullseye and not cameraman.
It's dangerous firing a bow and arrow. What you have done is you can use blanks, but even a rubber-tipped arrow, it's not good. Dangerous. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Natasha. My question is actually for Guggenheim.
Will we get to see Roy lose his arm at all?
Certainly not in season 1. He's gotta have 2 arms though.
Alex Kingston.
Oh, speaking of, I had that question. When are we going to see a Barrowman Kingston scene together?
You know, unfortunately, that was something we wanted to do in season 1, but we couldn't find an organic way to even have them cross and have them sort of do a double take or something. So that may be just something that, assuming both characters survive into season 2, we would do in season 2. But we know it's on the wish list, and that board of things we want to see, it's on the board.
Right.
Hello, my name is William Fitz. I'm a big fan of the show, and my question is to whoever this may concern to open the panel, which is like everybody, is what part in the comic book that you had wished to adapt into the TV series, but just couldn't because of difficulty, and why?
Don't I go to Russia at one point in the digital comic?
Yeah, in the digital comic he goes to Russia. We have this big sequence on an airplane. We sort of do all the stuff that we can't afford to do on the show. Thank you.
And have you guys ever considered having Colin sing on the show? One with his extensive theater background.
By the way, another thing, things we're looking, to do more. It's funny. Greg Andrew and I did a show called Eli Stone, which had musical numbers and stuff. Thank you. It's certainly in our blood, and it's obviously in Colin's blood. It's funny. I was driving the other day, and I had the Broadway station on Sirius, and there's Colin.
That's how we rock at karaoke.
Oh, that's what we should do, the karaoke episode.
There you go.
That's what we should do, the karaoke episode. Actually, we were joking actually that Laurel, we do karaoke, and then Laurel breaks the speakers because of the high pitch of her voice. So look for that in the digital comic.
And there was whispers of a parody song at a Christmas party?
Oh, yeah. That was the greatest thing ever.
Those things were made private. You wouldn't share a few bars with us?
Best battle ever.
There's a queen that we're all longing to see. We know that he will turn out to be the vigilante we've all wanted to see.
Hi, my name is Steele. I'm a big fan of Green Arrow. I think one of his more braver aspects is that he's not afraid to speak his mind. So my question to the panel is, in an era of bigotry and, cold-blooded greed, are we going to see the liberal line?
It's funny, I think that what's cool about progressives and about liberals is such an open-minded philosophy about society and bigotry and everything, and we're always trying to cover those sort of real, present-day, real-world issues on the show, and we'll continue to do so. I think, the Arrow has a long history in comics of sort of being that voice of the underdog and being, dealing with issues of racism and bigotry, and certainly the Dennis O'Neil, Neil Adams run in the 1970s, and we're always honoring that on the show. We're looking for opportunities to honor that on the show. So, absolutely. Thank you.
Seeing more of the Tommy and Malcolm relationship, what are we going to see about about Tommy's mom? Are we going to get backstory on that, or?
She's dead. I feel like you should give all your answers singing.
I can only do musical answers now?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. we are going to learn more about Rebecca. You'll actually hear Rebecca's voice before the season is out.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like that's teasing enough. Like, I feel like I should stand pat on that answer that you'll hear Rebecca's voice.
And I can't give you an answer since I don't really know.
We also reference back to episode 11. There's this little offhand line from Malcolm Merlin about Rebecca's clinic in the Glades. That wasn't an offhand line when we wrote it. We're going to learn more about that. So please stay tuned, and you know, Colin will sing all of his dialogue from it.
That's interesting.
I don't know how we would pull that off, but.
Hi, my name is Carlos, and I'd like to say none of you have failed this city. My question is for Stephen Hamel, and I think you make an awesome Oliver Queen, but I also think you make a really good Arthur Curry. Would you ever consider taking on the role of Aquaman in any medium?
Man, never say never. Never, ever. Judge on the top of that. Never say never. It'd be fun playing anybody that has such a loyal fan base is, you know, it's exciting because people always have such strong opinions about the character. So, be it another DC hero or a villain, all of that would be fun. Not that I know of.
This is going to be the last one.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm a huge fan of the show. I loved the Flash reference last week on the episode. Was that done on purpose or an accident? And also, judging by mentioning kind of Flash, is there any chance of seeing any iconic DC Justice Leaguers maybe?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the part about, was it you were asking about the flashbacks?
The Flash reference in Central City.
Flash reference, okay, thanks. That, by the way, props to Andrew Kreisberg on the Flash Easter egg. We love that. We love doing that stuff. And yes, you'll see much more of that. You know, it's such a fun thing for the entire writing staff to do. That'll always be a part and parcel of the show. As far as meeting other Justice Leaguers, you know, certainly not in season 1. We're always talking about what toys from the DC Universe toy chest we can raid, but they always have to fit into the tone and the grounded nature of the show. So I wouldn't expect to see Superman show up, but there's one Justice Leaguer who we talk about a great deal in terms of bringing onto the show, or at least our Arrowverse version of it. So, you know, as Steven says, never say never.
Alright, so since these guys haven't read the finale script yet, Mark, the undertaking is clearly where we're headed. So without spoiling anything, can you just kind of give us a tease as to how much carnage or explosive developments there are going to be?
Well, I'll tell you, we've been, this is maybe more inside baseball than people want, but we've been basically setting aside money, you know, for the last several episodes to put towards the last 2 episodes of the season. So the action, the pyrotechnics, all the things that we've been sort of hinting at that are coming in terms of what the undertaking is, and also the stuff that's happening on the island, we wanted to sort of earmark all that budgetarily so that we can afford to do the very big widescreen things that we're looking to be doing with those last 2 episodes. In terms of what I can tease, I would say, well, I'll spoil something. I'll spoil something because I don't think it's that much of a spoiler. But for those people who've been waiting for the rematch of a lifetime between the Arrow and the Dark Archer from episode 9, your wishes are going to be granted in ways you can't even expect.
All of you guys are an awesome crowd. I want to thank our panel. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the day, guys.
Don't forget to subscribe.